It's the 21st century, and I have noticed that the topic of being child-free is becoming less taboo in the US. But I still get weird looks when I tell people that I don't want kids.
Me too. I think we all get weird looks and weird comments when we tell people that we don't want kids, even though it's becoming more common. I'm Hannah, the wife without kids. This channel is all about building a positive and non-judgmental community to support you in your child-free life. When I started my YouTube channel and my other social media platforms talking about child-free, I was pretty nervous, to be honest. And at first you feel like you're kind of the only person out there, but it didn't take very long for me to realize there were other people that were already out there that were speaking out about being child-free and that children are a choice, and now I really feel like I'm part of a community, which is so refreshing.
And then I get this unwanted feedback. You'll change your mind. No, I won't. I'm 100% sure in my decision to not have kids, just like you're 100% sure in your decision to have kids.
When we're in our late teens and our early 20s, people say a lot of things. I said a lot of things that I was going to accomplish or things that I wanted to do, and I certainly didn't do all of them, and I did change my mind about some of them. So I think when people say you're going to change your mind, it's because they see a lot of younger generations changing their minds about decisions. And this is just another decision that they think people will change their minds on. But for a lot of us, it actually isn't something we change our minds on.
Don't you think that's kind of selfish? My choice to be child-free doesn't affect anyone but myself. This is the best decision for my happiness, my mental and physical well-being, and for my chosen lifestyle. I made a decision about life that I know is right for me, and no one is being harmed by my choice to not bring a child into this world.
Well said. I think when you don't want kids, it mostly affects you. Obviously, if you have a partner, then it's going to affect your significant other as well.
I found a partner who also doesn't want kids, so no one is being harmed by this, and I don't think it's selfish to not want kids. I think it's simply okay to not want them.
And it's very true. This is not a choice that intentionally hurts or pains other people. There may be people that are disappointed by the fact that you aren't having kids, but you're allowed to make that choice. And yes, they will be disappointed, but somehow they will work their way through that.
Motherhood is the best part of life. You'll miss out. I think that everyone should decide for themselves what makes their own life the most fulfilling. For some, that is motherhood or fatherhood. For me, it's being able to do what I love every day and having freedom and peace and stability that comes with being child-free.
I don't think motherhood or fatherhood is a one-size-fits-all, that title will fit every single person in the entire world. There are just people who are not meant to be parents. There are people who don't want to be parents. And to be able to have the freedom to choose that you don't want to be a parent because it's not the right fit for you is perfectly normal and perfectly okay. I'm sure there are moms and dads out there that can't imagine going through life without having had kids. And that's a good thing. But on the flip side, that just isn't everyone's goal in life. There are a lot of other things that people find fulfilling. And if you don't want kids, parenthood is probably not going to be very fulfilling for you.
Who will take care of you when you're old, though? I plan to live like the Golden Girls. Plus, when I was a child, my mother and I used to visit an old family friend in the nursing home, and her children never visited her, even though she was a good mom and she gave her kids everything.
I feel like I've talked about this several times on my channel already. There are so many older people who have families and they're still alone.
I think it's a mistake to assume that having children means one day they'll take care of you when you're old, because some adult children just don't.
And the reason for having kids shouldn't be that they can take care of you when you're older. Let's be honest, we all have the ability to make money, to save money, and then to use that money to pay for someone to care for us in our old age. Obviously, if kids want to take care of their aging parents, that is an option, but I don't think the purpose of having kids is so that you have a plan for when you age. When you approach kids like that, it almost seems like you're using kids as an insurance policy, and we all know how well insurance policies pay out when the time comes. That actually makes me think, if you're a parent and part of the reason you had kids is so that they would take care of you when you're older, and then you're older and then they don't take care of you, do you guilt trip them? Do you say, you must take care of me? I don't know how that works, because I don't think you can really make people do things that they don't want to do or aren't in a place to be able to do.
Don't you want a family? Child-free people have families. They just look different than yours. You'll have a forever partner and kids someday. I'll have a forever partner and maybe a dog someday. Either way, both are still a family.
There are times when I'm sitting in the living room with my husband and we'll be watching a YouTube video or something, and he and I will just be sitting there and our two furs will be in the living room with us. And I'm just like, oh, my heart is like so full. I just love my little family. And to me, I know that that means my family is complete. I can't imagine it being anything else than just the four of us.
Parenthood is such a great experience in so many ways for those who choose to have kids. But not everyone wants to take that path, and we shouldn't force someone to have a life that they don't want. Personally, I've never seen someone try to convince someone who wants kids to not have kids, because having kids and being a parent is what's considered normal in our society. It's the most common path taken in life.
I don't know, people are so funny because I feel like we're still really stuck in this very one specific way of thinking, which is so weird to me because I'm like, it's 2021. But when it comes to someone not wanting kids, that's still a big deal, which just blows my mind. I guess traditions are very seeped into people's souls, and so it takes a long time to change.
And for some reason, our society is obsessed with motherhood and fertility and childbirth. So of course we don't question someone when they say they want kids. And growing up, I thought I wanted them too, because society told me I should want that.
It's a little bit sad that we're still in the place where kids are just a given instead of being an option.
But as I got older and began figuring out what I wanted in my life, I realized that it wasn't my normal. Kids don't fit into the lifestyle that I've chosen that makes me the happiest.
I think that's how a lot of people measure life. Are you happy? If I make this decision, will this make me happy? If I make that decision, will that make me happy? So kids very much play into that decision. Really wanted to be a parent, you couldn't imagine going through life not having kids because that's part of what you see as being a complete picture of your life. But if you don't want kids, kids would not add to the picture of your complete life because your complete life doesn't include children at all.
And just because someone doesn't want kids doesn't mean they hate kids. I mean, some people do, which is fine. And honestly, people who really hate kids, we're all better off if they don't work with them or have kids of their own.
That is so true. Can you imagine someone who hated kids having kids? That would be an absolute disaster. You know they'd be on that negative Facebook page for parents that didn't like their kids or that regretted parenthood.
But I have met teachers, child psychologists, nannies, social workers who love working with children, but they just don't want any of their own. They like being child-free. I myself am an educator. I work with children and I love my students, but that doesn't mean that I want to have a mom. Sorry, not have a mom. That doesn't mean I want to have a kid and be a mom someday.
That was cute. I make mistakes like that all the time in my videos, but I usually edit them out because I'm like, what am I saying? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe I should leave a few more bloopers in my videos. That might make them a little more interesting. I get comments fairly frequently from individuals who do work with kids, just like she said, and they all say the same thing. They're like, I love being a teacher. But then they all follow up that I love working with kids saying, I don't want to be a parent.
Now, every child-free person has their own reason for not wanting to have kids, or maybe no reason at all, and that's perfectly fine. But some reasons include environmental and social concerns, wanting to focus on pursuing career goals. Maybe they have instability in their relationships, finances, or mental or physical health. And some just simply don't want to be tied down to the lifelong responsibilities that come with raising a child.
When you have a child, that's your child. You're bringing that child into your environment. So if you have a bad financial situation, if you maybe have a bad relationship, if you have mental health issues, a kid isn't going to fix those things. I always find it really strange when people say, oh, you know, my relationship wasn't that good, so we decided to have a baby. And I think, what? Like, relationships are great. I love being married, but it does take some effort and some work. And if you're already feeling pretty rocky with your relationship, I can't imagine that bringing an infant into your relationship is going to fix it. And also, that is not the child's job to fix your relationship. That's on you and your partner.
My reason for not wanting to have kids is that I just simply don't want to have any. That's literally it. I don't feel that desire to be a parent, and I like being child-free.
100% relatable. That is my reason for not having children as well.
But if you need more reasons, I save a lot of money by not having kids, and all that money that I save, I can use towards the things that I need or desire. I can travel freely. Yes, you can travel with kids, but you have to plan around them. You got to make sure that they're safe and that they're happy, do the things that they want so they're not grumpy throughout the vacation, and make sure that the trip isn't too long so they don't miss too much school if the vacation is being planned during the school year.
One of the things that I love about being child-free is that we can take vacations whenever we want. And we typically take our vacations when school is in session because rates tend to be a little bit cheaper and there's just less people around. Less people, less noise, so that we can really relax and enjoy our downtime.
I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, when I'm on vacation, and really with any other day of my life. My relationship doesn't suffer. Our intimacy is great. We love being around each other even after all this time, and our sex life is good.
I think sometimes people think that you're going to get sick of your partner. Like, don't you need to switch it up and have kids so you have someone else to be around? I don't think I've ever felt like that before, like ever. I'm never sick of my spouse. He's not sick of me. I'm pretty sure he's not sick of me. We have a lot of fun together, so I don't feel like I need to mix it up by throwing a child in there. Nope.
Once kids are in the picture, sometimes the relationship can begin to suffer, and sometimes the relationship gets sacrificed for the well-being of the kids. So couples definitely have to try harder to keep their relationship strong.
I think that is 100% true. When you have a relationship and you bring kids into it, it definitely does change. There's no way that it couldn't change because now you're both caring for someone other than the two of you. Obviously, I don't have kids, but here's my perspective. If you don't make your relationship with your spouse a priority, even when you have kids, wouldn't everyone in the family suffer? I've heard some parents say, nope, when you have a kid, the kid is everything. Your spouse always comes second. The idea that you would make a baby with someone and then put that individual on the back burner and spend the majority of your time focused on your child, developing a relationship with your child, and not maintaining the relationship that you have with your spouse seems really off to me because both of you still need to be connected to raise the baby together. So if you make your baby way more important than your spouse, wouldn't the family dynamic at some point break down? I'm not saying to neglect your baby. I understand when it's like a baby, it's going to need like way more care, obviously, than your spouse because it's 100% dependent on you. But I just think that maintaining a relationship with each other should still be a top priority in your family. If you don't spend time continuing to develop a relationship with the adult in your family and things start getting rough with the kid, where do you go to for reassurance or for encouragement or to vent? You're not going to go to the kid. Isn't that part of the reason that your spouse is there, is to support you? But if you haven't maintained a relationship with them and you're growing further apart, isn't that kind of a recipe for disaster? I don't know. In my mind, when I hear people say like the kid is everything, the spouse is just the back burner, I don't understand that. I don't agree with it, but maybe I'm wrong. If you guys have any thoughts about that, let me know down in the comment section below. And if there's any parents that are watching this, I'd like to hear your opinion because I might be completely off or it might be a balancing act.
I get to focus on my career. I don't lose any sleep. I can use my free time to pursue my passions and hobbies and to volunteer for the causes that I care about. And plus, I'm a lot less stressed. I also do not have to endure years of, I hate you, you're ruining my life, and then having my kid slam the door in my face. I was a pain and I was a preteen and teenager. And yet to this day, she still loves me unconditionally. So thank you, Mom.
I feel like that would be the worst part of being a parent. You like pour your love and your care into this baby. They love you and they're 100% dependent on you. And then they get to an age where they're just like, I want nothing to do with you. But mind you, I don't think every single teen is like that because as much as my mom and I had some disagreements, I was never one of those teens that like hated my mom and wouldn't talk to her and was embarrassed to be seen with her. I think there are some teens that are like that, but I think there was others of us that still managed to maintain good relationships with our parents throughout our teen years, even if we had the occasional argument.
From the perspective of being the child, I saw my mom having to sacrifice her career goals, her time, her energy, her money, and even some of her happiness just to give me a good life. And I'm sure there's a part of her that wishes she would have lived more for herself, but she does tell me that she doesn't regret having me, so I appreciate that. And our relationship has gotten so much better since I was a teenager.
I think that's a parent thing. I think most parents probably just love their kids unconditionally, which we can be very thankful for. I know that my mom sacrificed for my siblings and I, and she worked really hard to give us the absolute best life that she possibly could. And I think that's a mother's love, right? Parents do sacrifice for their children. Most parents, not all parents, and give them better than what they had growing up. And that definitely does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. So thanks all the moms and dads out there.
She knows that I'm not having kids, and she knows that I don't owe her grandkids as a thank you for giving birth to me. If your family acts as if you owe them kids or grandkids, that's not okay. Don't do it for that reason. She respects my life choice to not have kids, just like I respect her life choice to have me.
Yeah, having kids for someone else because you feel pressured to have kids is probably the worst reason you could ever have kids because you still have to raise the kid, and if you don't want one before it comes, and that feeling doesn't change once your child comes, it's gonna be a rocky 17 plus years.
To parents who enjoy being parents, I respect your decision to have kids because you truly love them and want them, and they really make you happy, even with all the responsibilities and hardships that come with raising a child. So thank you for doing your best to provide a good life for your child because every kid deserves that. I
agree. Hats off to parents who do the job, who love doing it, who sacrifice what they sacrifice, and who raise amazing human beings. And you might be one of those human beings watching this video right now.
To child-free people, I respect your decision to not have kids. Some people have kids without really thinking about it, but you took the time to really think things through because being a parent is a huge life decision to make. And because you took the time to really figure things out, you now know that having kids isn't something that you want or fits with your lifestyle. And that's okay. Plus, I think it's actually the responsible thing to do to not have kids if you truly have no desire for them for whatever reason.
You can take as long as you need to figure out whether or not you want kids. If you're a fence sitter, then just be a fence sitter. Don't make either decision if you really don't know. I mean, for women, we are somewhat limited, I suppose. There will be that time that comes when it will be much more challenging to have children of your own, if that's what you decided you wanted to do.
And to those of you who are undecided, please, please, please do not have kids unless you are 100% sure that you want them. Because being a parent, that is a lifelong commitment. So please, for your sake and for the potential child's sake, don't do it unless you're 100% sure.
This is very true. I've heard some people say, well, do you ever 100% know that you want to do anything? I mean, perhaps not, because you don't know what the outcome would be, and if you could look and see the outcome, maybe you would make a different decision. But the fact that you at least spend time thinking about it, looking at the pros and cons, talking to people who are child-free, talking to people who are parents, I think that will give you a relatively good perspective on what you should do for your life.
A child does not ask to be brought into this world. That is a decision made by you. So I hope that if you do choose to have a kid, it's because you really, truly want them. Unfortunately, there are parents out there who have kids without having the intention to really raise them well and truly love them. And unfortunately, I have seen this neglect in my students, and it's heartbreaking to see that their parents don't really care about them.
And if you are curious about some of the things that parents have said who do regret having kids, go ahead and check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are never alone, and I will see you next week.